Hi, this is Michael Venus from Never Apart. I am in Oakland, California, where I had the amazing opportunity to sit down with Scrumbly from the legendary Cockettes for an artist visit.
Life is short, life is sweet, no time for sorrow, no time for defeat. It's a game, so don't come unglued. Beside, there is someone who's worse off than you. Many people, of course, don't know what the Cockettes were. Shame on you. Come on, Google. The Cockettes were known as the biggest proponent of sexual liberation back in the sexual liberation days. Only a lot of us, most of us, were gay, but it included straights, women, all kinds. And the coming together of freaks was the really most important thing. And it was started by a fellow named Hibiscus, or George Harris, who came from an acting family in New York City. And he's famous for being the one in that photograph of a hippie putting a daisy in the barrel of a soldier's gun. And he came to San Francisco and started flinging flowers everywhere in his long robes, and started us performing at the midnight movies at the Palace Theater until we, the normal audience was about 300. Well, when we started performing there, it quickly grew to full houses. They were around the block. You had to turn away people, 1,200 plus. And there were just wild evenings because it was a celebration of amateurism. It was like anti-theater, which was fine with me because it didn't sit quite right with me. There was a little too much competition and backbiting and stuff. How theater people can sometimes be. Well, so this was all friendly, and it didn't really matter that much what we did because our costumes were fabulous. And but after a while, we started to want to rehearse a little more and get tighter. Sylvester, the famous diva, Sylvester was in our group. Well, when he first appeared at a rehearsal, he got up and sang M-I-C-K-E-Y, all very soulful. And I thought, oh my gosh. And then he sang something else. I said, he wants to sing with us? Okay. He was pretty exacting, though. He wanted things just so, which was fine because he pretty much evolved into a solo act fairly quickly. I loved to watch him on stage. In one of his solo shows, he did this number, Someone to Watch Over Me, Gershwin, and he made these gigantic butterfly wings that extended out about 8 feet from each shoulder. And he's holding these huge butterfly wings, made of gauze, gossamer fabric, gorgeous colors. And it was magic. He was magic.
How about Divine?
Well, Divine was great. She was so much fun. The first time she appeared, she came out with a shopping cart. John Waters was directing all of her little performances. She came out on stage with a shopping cart and reached in and pulled these fish out and flung them over to the audience. Raw fish, of course. It was hysterical. We had her as last year's misdemeanor for our final farewell show. And she got on there and she said, I ate 5,000, during the past year, I ate 5,000 pounds of white sugar. Which for hippies was just a horrible thing. I became a part of the group from the first performance, which we did. We just jumped up on stage and danced to Honky Tonk Woman by the Rolling Stones. And then the audience started chanting, bring back the dancing boys, bring back the dancing boys. I was a performer, and since I could play piano, I started to accompany sometimes. And then we'd eventually get me away from the piano when we found other people that could play. And I wrote music for the first original one, which was Pearls Over Shanghai, with my dear friend Link Martin. And that's what I did from then on.
What are your most treasured memories of that era?
My most treasured memories of the era were, aside from the sex and the boyfriends, and the camaraderie. It was just the amount of just fierce fun. And, you know, we were playing at being glamorous stars. We were in our own way, but it was kind of a conspiracy. We knew it wasn't real and didn't take it quite seriously. I suppose as far as specific memories go, just hanging out, you could get up. In those days, you know, we would get up out of bed and no one bothered to put on clothes until you were going to get dressed and go out. And we just hung out. And it was, you know, or going to communes, you know. It was so hip. I mean, 1970, all the straight guys that wanted to experiment would come to the shows and see us, and then you'd get sought out. You know, we had groupies. It was crazy.
What legacy, I mean, we've seen drag since that era change so much. What legacy do you feel the Cockettes have left behind?
Oh my. Well, we did break the ice. I mean, I think when you find someone who, you know, a bearded drag queen, and we were the first, you know, who ever heard of that before? The Cockettes. Well, yeah, there were androgynous things through the centuries, I'm sure. But we confused sexual roles. That was the whole idea. You know, a butch drag queen, sure, why not? You know. So keeping our beards, you know, not trying to disguise the penis, you know, putting glitter on it or rhinestones instead. And, you know, we broke the ice too. We broke the barrier for stage nudity. There was hardly any until us. And I think that certain sensibility of that nothing is sacred, and glorying in that, and glorying in the perverse, the more perverted, the better. I mean, the tradition of portraying women as catty and all that, drag queens have always been known for that. So we sort of soft pedaled that and celebrated women, more or less, or celebrated our feminine side. Well, life is short, life is sweet, no time for sorrow, no time for defeat. It's a game, so don't come unglued. Besides, there is someone who's worse off than you.